I call the Shadow Secretary of State, Laura Trott.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I had hoped that during the common stages of this bill, the government would listen to the vast number of respected voices from the education sector who have warned repeatedly that this ill-thought-through bill is nothing short of a disaster for education standards in this country. But unfortunately, the Secretary of State failed to listen to the Children's Commissioner, who warned that children will spend longer in failing schools because of this bill, or Catherine Burble-Singh, who argued that if passed... Madam Deputy Speaker, this is how they treat one of the best head teachers in this country. She warned that if passed, the impact on our children, especially the most vulnerable, will be seismic. She will not listen to the former Chief Inspector of Ofsted, who described the bill as a many-pronged assault on school standards, or Lord Harris, who supported the party at the last election and said the bill will only harm the most disadvantaged families. Madam Deputy Speaker, even some of her own backbenchers have asked the Secretary of State to think again. Why does she think she knows better? Instead of engaging constructively with this criticism, the approach from the Secretary of State has been to resort to personal attacks. In response to Amanda Spielman's sensible suggestion that there should be an analysis of the impacts of autonomy in schools before a legislation abolishing it is forced through the House of Commons, a government source went on the record to denigrate a former senior public servant in the most personal of terms. Did the Secretary of State sign off this briefing?
Apologise now.
In her own opinions piece in the Telegraph today, the Secretary of State told me and the Shadow team to get out of London. She appears, Madam Deputy Speaker, not to have noticed the work of Star Academies, Delta Academies Trust, United Learning, Trinity and Inspiration Trust, amongst many others. These are brilliant trusts who are changing the lives of young people who she so casually dismisses. But I have a suggestion for the Secretary of State in return, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Secretary of State should visit Wales. Wales, where the Labour Party have been in charge for 26 years. Wales, the blueprint for her reforms. And Wales, which currently finds itself at the bottom of the rankings for the whole of the UK in maths, English and science. The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster said today that his party would never do anything to harm social mobility. Yet, Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill will be devastating for social mobility. The Labour benches need to understand the consequences of this bill. The evidence, should they care to read it, is overwhelming. The IFS have said very clearly that the differences in policy and approach have led to the terrible outcomes in Wales for disadvantaged young people. Indeed, disadvantaged young people in England do as well as the average child in Wales. And yet, these are the policies that they want to implement in England. How on earth can they justify imposing the same policies and approach that have been such a disaster in Wales? This bill, at a single stroke, undermines all the work that has been done by successive governments of all parties, head teachers and trusts over so many years. Academy Trust heads have been abused actually during this debate and attacked by unions in this process because they dared to want better for young people under their care. Former Labour and Conservative education secretaries who have driven through reforms in the face of fierce opposition are being undermined by this bill. I cannot believe that the government will undo all of that for no reason. There is no evidence whatsoever that their proposals will improve a single school. In fact, the evidence is clear that they will make things worse. The Secretary of State is putting ideology in the interests of union bosses over what is best for children and parents. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a bill of two halves. The first, on safeguarding, we agree absolutely with the principle of. But the second is a policy equivalent of a wrecking ball. It will destroy the consensus over 2 decades on what improves schools. It is discredited. It is disastrous for school standards, and we will never stop fighting it.
Before leaving, we request everyone to like and share the video so that it reaches a wider audience. Also, feel free to comment down your thoughts.